Online harassment? It's gone way beyond just angry comments. It's morphed into a weapon with real, life-threatening consequences. It's a journey that takes us deep into the psychology of the internet, the weaponization of our data, and a legal system that's just scrambling to keep up. So let's break down how we actually got to this point. And we're going to start at the very end of that evolution, with one of its most dangerous forms, swatting. Make no mistake, this is not a prank. This is the act of turning a SWAT team into an unwitting instrument of terror against someone. And it all starts with information that gets leaked online.
So yeah, how did we get here? How did the anonymity of a computer screen lead to armed police officers kicking down someone's front door? Well, to really understand this escalation, we have to go back to the beginning, to the root psychological cause.
And that cause is a really interesting phenomenon called the online disinhibition effect. It's basically the observation that people say and do things in cyberspace that they would never do in the real world, face to face. They feel less restrained, they express themselves more openly.
But here's the thing, this effect isn't automatically bad. It's really a double-edged sword. On one hand, it can be benign, leading people to share their deepest feelings or show incredible kindness to strangers. But on the other, it can turn toxic, unleashing just the worst criticism, hatred, and threats. This is the fork in the road where online behavior goes from connection to absolute corrosion.
A researcher named John Suler actually identified 6 key things that fuel this, and it all kind of boils down to a few core ideas. You feel anonymous and invisible, so your actions don't feel connected to your real self. The time lag in communication means you can post something nasty and just walk away without seeing the immediate fallout. And because real-world authority and consequences seem so far away, the online world can start to feel more like a game than reality. Put it all together, and you've got a perfect storm for disinhibition.
Okay, so let's see how this disinhibition builds into its most common and probably most recognizable form, trolling. This is where that toxic disinhibition finds its voice, and a target.
I mean, the official definition is pretty clear. The entire goal is to antagonize, to disrupt, and to provoke a reaction. And a lot of the time, it's just for the troll's own amusement. It's a deliberate act of sowing discord.
And the research on this gives us a chillingly specific psychological profile. Studies show that people who troll tend to have higher levels of psychopathy and, this is the crucial part, sadism. That means they actually get pleasure from watching other people suffer. They also show a high desire for their own group to dominate others. It's a really specific and nasty cocktail of personality traits.
And the real-world cost here is huge. Trolling is not just about hurt feelings. As this research points out, it has a massive chilling effect on public debate. It can literally silence voices, pushing people out of the conversation altogether, and that, at the end of the day, weakens the democratic process itself.
So from here, the harm escalates dramatically. The barrier between some online argument and real-world danger just completely dissolves. And that's where we see the emergence of doxing and swatting.
Right? So it is absolutely crucial to understand the difference here. Doxing is the act of digging up and maliciously publishing someone's private info, their address, their phone number, you name it. Swatting is the next step. It's taking that information and using it to weaponize emergency services against that person. So one provides the ammunition, the other pulls the trigger.
And this whole threat landscape has evolved at a terrifying speed. Before 2024, these were often just isolated incidents. But since then, we've seen coordinated campaigns targeting people like public officials and journalists. And now, the threat is being supercharged by AI, which lets attackers scrape data and even clone voices for fake calls with terrifying ease.
And this isn't some sci-fi theory. The FBI has put out specific warnings about this, saying that bad actors are using AI to generate incredibly realistic voices for these fake emergency calls. This tech makes swatting attempts way more convincing to 911 dispatchers and a whole lot harder for police to trace back to the source.
And all of this technology, this psychology, it has a profound human cost. The harm isn't abstract, it lands on real people, and the wounds it leaves can look very different depending on where someone is in their life.
This chart really shows it starkly. For young adults, the most common impact is symptoms of depression. For the middle-aged group, look at that, it's a staggering rate of anxiety. And for older adults, the biggest impact is a deep, profound sense of isolation. The same act of harassment creates totally different kinds of suffering across a lifetime.
And this table from the von Humboldt study breaks it down even further. For the 18 to 39 group, the main feeling is shame and humiliation.
For those aged 40 to 59, it's losing interest in their hobbies, a classic sign of just withdrawing from life. And for people over 60, it turns into negative self-talk. Each group experiences a really unique emotional and mental health signature from these attacks.
And that data becomes so real with this quote from a 50-year-old victim named Carolyn. Her words just perfectly capture that erosion of self-worth that is at the heart of this kind of harassment. It's not just a bad day online, it's a fundamental change in how a person sees themselves in the world.
Which brings us to a really critical question. If the harm is so clear, why is it so damn hard to stop? Well, the answer lies in a legal system that was built for a world that frankly just doesn't exist anymore.
I mean, law enforcement is facing huge challenges. The perpetrators are often in another state or even another country. They use tools to stay anonymous and now AI to cover their tracks. A lot of the harassment laws we have are just plain outdated. They were written before doxing or swatting were even things. And for the victims, there's often no clear path to get any kind of justice.
But some states are starting to respond. You can see a few examples here. Virginia, Ohio, Kentucky, Texas, they've all passed new laws specifically criminalizing false emergency reports, prohibiting swatting, and in Texas's case, making doxing its own criminal offense. The legal framework is slowly, and I mean slowly, starting to adapt.
And sometimes justice does break through. 48, that's the number. That's how many months in prison a California teenager named Alan W. Fillion was sentenced to for orchestrating a nationwide AI-assisted swatting spree. It's a huge sentence, and it signals that the courts are finally starting to recognize how severe these crimes really are.
But the damage isn't just to individuals. The ultimate cost is to all of us, to society. It's called the chilling effect. When journalists or election workers or public officials fear for their safety, they might just stop doing their jobs. They might withdraw from public life completely. And that isn't just harassment, it's a direct attack on the very infrastructure of a functioning democracy. Which leaves us with one last crucial question. In a world where technology is always going to move faster than the law, what does real safety in our digital lives actually require? Is it just better laws, smarter technology, or is it something deeper, a fundamental shift in how we as a society define accountability and responsibility online?